Drink Cinema! Cheers. Welcome to another episode of Two Drink Cinema. We are 2 out of 3 brothers reviewing iconic movies 2 drinks at a time. Hello, Brett.
Hello, Lee.
You know what I just realised, and it's terrible that I only just realised this because I edit the episode every week, is that our little intro music, I've managed to, even without it going, when you're on the radio, as we have
a fade in
history of radio, you know how long the song goes for and you talk until the song fades out. Purely by my, I guess, natural skills behind a microphone, I've managed to accidentally create an intro that goes for as long as the fade out. And most weeks I say, hello, Brett, as...
And people have a go at me at saying that the same thing the same way every time. It's called...
Continuity.
Consistency.
Okay, it's
and
called both of those
continuity.
things, and consistency. Hello, Brett.
Reliability. Hi, Lee. Hello, Lee. That's it. Sorry, I fucked it up now.
We are reviewing Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He says, as he complimented himself on natural microphone ability and then whacked the mic stand with the pen that he shouldn't have in his hand during an episode. Mr. and Mrs. Smith is a movie.
It is a movie.
And it is one of the rare movies that has no taglines.
I thought it would be Mr. and Mrs. Smith's a bisexual's dream movie.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, be careful, you might turn bi.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, it's Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. Do you really need a tagline? Do you really care about what this movie's about?
The posters, because I looked it up, because it's not on IMDb, right? And I was going to make a joke of, we haven't found any taglines for this film yet, because that's what it says on IMDb when they go to the tagline. But then I looked for the posters, and the posters are literally Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, coming June.
And they're just standing there, and she's got her leg out.
Yeah, she's got the
In
leg out.
classic
He's got
Angelina fashion.
gun out. Or the poster goes, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Pitt, Jolie, coming June. That's all it is. Lucky June. But
well, I think there was. I think it came before June as well.
Well,
by all reports.
You asked Jennifer,
but we'll get to that later.
And potentially Billy Bob.
As we've just discussed that's all the cultural impact. So there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Let's have a drink.
Okay, Lee. I've done something a bit cheeky, but might taste disgusting. So
That's what she said.
I'm calling it a Brangelina.
Is that what she said offensive?
Depends how they identify.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's what they said.
Okay.
Doesn't have the same ring to it, does it?
No, I'm going to say that's what they said.
That's what G said.
No, they.
Okay.
Because then it covers everyone.
Because then you don't know how they identify.
Well, because...
Unless you have to go, sorry, what are your pronouns? She, her. Oh, that's what she said. I'd had to check.
Also if someone says something, you have to check the person who said its pronouns and then the type of person they're into's pronouns.
Oh, so you don't want to assume
because
heterosexuality.
According to people on the internet, Michael Scott, played by Steve Carell, invented that's what she said. And he's the only one that ever made it funny.
Yeah.
And...
because The Office is great.
Yeah. He says that's what she said because there's only one gay in The Office and Michael hates him. And not because he's gay.
Okay.
But
because
everybody that Michael talks about generally is hetero.
Yeah.
And Michael himself is hetero. So that's why that's what she said works for him. But I'm just going to say that's what they said now.
Yeah. Okay. That's what they said.
All right.
Okay. We're going to make it a thing.
Try that again.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Done.
You said you've tried something a little bit naughty and it could taste terrible.
Yeah.
That's what they said.
So this is what... there we go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
I was wondering what you were going to say it. This is a Brangelina.
Okay.
It is... These are the ingredients.
A little bit naughty and could be horrible.
Yeah. Whiskey, amaretto, triple sec, a new ingredient today, elderflower liqueur.
Remember ages ago we were meant to have elderflower cordial?
Yeah, and we
just didn't.
Cranberry juice is back on the menu,
Oh,
and
great.
lemonade that may or may not be zero sugar because I yet again didn't read the label or something correctly.
Thank God cranberry juice doesn't go off.
So you know what it's a mix of? I've picked a few things of
Sweet.
a Brad Pitt,
Oh.
an Angelina Jolie.
Do they have their own cocktails?
It is like you Google Brad Pitt cocktail, it goes up. This is what he likes to drink.
Yeah. Okay.
And then a cocktail called a home wrecker.
So the whiskey belongs to Brad.
To be honest,
The no sugar clearly belongs to Angelina.
well, either of them really, but there's enough sugar in all the other ingredients to
Okay.
balance it out.
Let's
So
try it.
We'll give it a go. We'll see.
Cheers.
Cheers. God.
It's sweet.
It's actually not bad.
It's not terrible.
There's one ingredient in there that's a bit meh. And I think it's the elderflower.
I'm glad you put... No, I don't mind the elderflower. I'm glad you put the Cointreau in.
Maybe it's... It would be
No.
better without whiskey.
No, I reckon it balances it. I reckon it'd be better with a better whiskey.
Probably.
But-
like that's
got-
the tagline for our podcast, basically. It'd be better with a better whiskey, going all the way back to The Godfather.
It would be better if you didn't shop on the bottom shelf of Dan Murphy's. But...
This was not bottom shelf, by the
I can
way.
imagine.
There was another one that was a lot cheaper, but it looked like crap. So I was like, I'm getting the more photogenic. It's a very impressive bottle.
Do you know what we've done this week as well? We have donated our
yes.
leftover Liquor 43 from only one cocktail in 3 years to our favourite bar, Pride of our Footscray.
Because the other day, it was apparently International Pay It Forward Day, because that's the thing. You know how there's days for everything.
Yeah. International Pay It Forward Day. So we did. We took a liqueur that we're never going to drink again and gave it to a bar where someone might drink it.
What's the bet that the next cocktail will need Liquor 43? We'll call them and be like, hey, can we just borrow a cup of, it's like you give your neighbour a cup of sugar.
Yeah. Can we just walk over
borrow
to
2
shot
shots
glass?
of Liquor 43?
All right. Speaking of neighbours,
Ugh. Are we at worst extra already?
yeah. Well, okay. Let's talk about this movie because that's the point of the podcast.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I thought it was too long. Or no, it felt long. It's only
Okay.
2 hours.
Yep.
But after about half an hour, I was like, oh, it's halfway through. No.
It
A lot
tried.
happens.
It tried to do a few things. Mm-hmm. It tried to be a bit of a romance. Like if we're talking about tropes, which listeners know I love to do,
Love a good trope.
it's got a lot of the tropes of a romance. There's a meet cute.
Oh, and what
Yes.
a nice meet cute in
It's
Colombia.
involved in the war in Bogota, right?
Yep.
But it's still a meet cute. They get stuck together under circumstances that they normally wouldn't, and they end up rooting. Because fucking look at them, why wouldn't you?
Can you imagine if Angelina walked in and it was like
Vince
not
Vaughn.
Brad Pitt? And she'd be like, it's Vince Vaughn. She's like, are you here alone? It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. Sorry.
Arrest me.
Arrest me. I'm done. Shoot me in the head.
Especially with the way that Vince Vaughn talks to women in this movie.
Yeah.
We will get to that. So it's got a meet cute. It's got some tropes about cheating husband, unhappy marriage,
Yeah.
which is not necessarily a romance. So it's within romance, and I know you hate me talking about subgenres, but it's that little bit of romance where it's like repair a marriage type romance story. So it's got that. It's got the couples therapy. It's got the meet cute. It's got that point in the movie that forces the couple to talk about their issues.
Yeah.
That happens to be when they're in the middle of a car chase. And so that, I think, is one of the things I like about the movie, is that it does all of those tropes and combines them with the tropes of an action movie.
I think that was the point.
Yeah.
For me, you got a bit tired.
I think...
It's like, we get it. they're married and having problems and
Yeah.
they're the same person but different.
So then along those lines, there's a couple of things that don't line up. So early on, before, and this is why I should have gone back and done some research about whether or not it was billed as, or the previews were, they are assassins that have been set against each other. Or are they a secret?
I remember it being they don't know they're assassins, but they find out. Oh.
Okay, so they weren't put against each other. I remember more of that than put against each other.
Kind of like, that movie with Ashton Kutcher and Katherine Heigl, The Killers? No? Nobody? Anyone? Crickets? Yeah.
No? Is that about the same time?
It's about 5 years later, so about enough time to write a movie and produce it.
Yeah, okay.
And he's a secret agent and she doesn't know. So it's not the same, but it's similar because then it's like, oh, I have to fight my neighbours. I might watch that.
Oh, okay. It's not iconic, so don't put it on the list.
It's not on the list.
So a couple of things don't pay off. Early on, we're kind of like, yes, they're not working and they're keeping secrets from each other.
And what a boring married life they have now.
We fully know as an audience that they're keeping secrets, but as an audience, except for in the preview, if we've been told they're assassins, don't know that they're assassins. So he gets home, puts his wedding ring back on, rubs something off his shirt collar.
That's lipstick.
And then goes in to dinner. And that is a very cliched cheating husband thing, but that doesn't pay off. She never finds that shirt and has to confront him about it.
Yeah.
Because they both know that something's going wrong in the marriage. Mm-hmm. They both kind of think it's the other, but also could be themselves because of their work. But there's no her confronting him about that, which was like, so why put that scene in? Like, we're already sus that something else is happening, or it can just be the marriage is not working. He might not be cheating.
Well, I don't know if at this point we're meant to think that they're not agents anymore and they are just a boring married couple with a gigantic house for some reason.
Yeah, well, their covers are both quite successful jobs, IT.
I changed the curtains. I'm with Brad, though.
Those
shit, curtains are ugly.
Fucking terrible. So, yeah, it's got those tropes, but then it's got a couple of those tropes that kind of don't pay off. And I got a little bit annoyed at the end when she's like, I'm the suburban housewife, and then she can drive the SUV. Like, she's never driven an SUV.
She's never driven an SUV.
She's not a soccer
mum.
mum.
Don't have kids.
Like, and there's very deliberate scene in there. She hates kids. So there's no way she's ever driven a minivan or an SUV.
Yeah.
But that joke is there to be made, and so they make it.
Okay, yes.
Yeah?
Pretty much.
Pretty much. So, but that being said, I liked the interplay of romance, in inverted commas, and action. Mm-hmm. And how things happen at a background of shit going wrong. Like the meet cute in Bogota, like the moment where they have to confront things. He says, in the end, you think about the beginning when they're racing to go and kill each other at the house. That's the point that actually makes them talk and acknowledge their feelings for each other. Yeah. As well as she says in the therapy session that, everybody has little secrets.
Yeah.
And then those little secrets come out during the big car chase after that. The character work, though, of those therapy sessions early I liked in setting up that they're both strong personalities.
Yeah.
But they're also both like, bored with the marriage.
I like it's scale of 1 to 10. And it's like, how about sex? I'm like, well, is one 1 or 1 is 0 or 10? What?
Yeah. And then they're like, he's like, what about this week? And they're like, including the weekend? Like as if they had one on the weekend. And then he's like, still 0.
Still 0.
And then that comes back at the end when he's like, ask the sex question. And he says it's a 10.
And that was behind the scenes.
Because they had sex presumably on broken glass. after they fought because they also, the next morning, drank out of a broken glass. Not safe.
Yeah, look,
I get the point of it.
there's safe sex and there's safe sex.
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
glass, that's not safe.
No. So, what else have I got to say about the story?
I think you just summed it up, actually.
I did pretty much sum it up. And so it works on that level. There's hints of secrets. She can shoot at the arcade games. But but that also sets up that neither of them want to be outdone. He at first you think it's just he's going to be the typical man and show off because she can't shoot.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, here, I'll win you a thing. Bang, 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 bang.
Yeah,
bang.
I hated that. But then she was like, bang, 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 bang.
But
I'm
that's
like,
the trope.
Yeah, okay.
I know. The trope is...
Some tropes are bad.
No. Did you hate that the trope was in there or hate that he was like that?
No, I hate that she had to be like, oh, I can't shoot. I'm a woman.
Well,
That's exactly how she said it.
part of her putting the cover on. And yeah, that's part of her keeping it cover.
I would have been like, oh,
Which is
I play this all
necessary.
the time. My dad was a ranch hound.
Ranch hand.
Yeah, ranch hand.
I would have been like, mate, this is time crisis, time zone. Give it to me.
Yeah.
Bang, bang,
Mate,
bang.
it's Buck Hunter.
But it does the job in terms of character development of him being the show-offy man.
Yeah.
Which kind of also shows that he actually loves her. She doesn't love him. And another thing that shows that she doesn't love him is she drops that charade very quickly because she's like, no, I'm not letting this fucker beat me.
Yeah.
Which is the point of the whole story once they find out they're assassins.
And she's much better than him.
Yeah, they're both like, I'm not going to let this fucker beat me.
Yeah.
And so you get that early on in amongst the trope of, you know, the first date is the arcade type arrangement.
I will say, right,
Yes.
you know, when it then came time that they're on the same mission in the desert, because it's always the desert, right? And then he pisses on his shoe or whatever.
Why?
Then he finds her fairly easily.
Yeah.
Like, track this. Here's the address, Jane Smith.
She recognizes him very easily too.
You know what? I was 50-50 about this bit, right? You know, then she's looking at the footage and then the phone rings and then she's looking at it and then she's having that realization.
Yep.
And then bad acting from Kerry Washington, the
Yep.
whole movie, goes, it's your husband. I'm like, it's because then I'm like, and then I was like,
Yes.
I hate it. Then I was like, no, that's good.
It's-
I was fine with it.
It's much better than her going, John, while she's looking at the screen.
Would it be better than what it would have been better? Oh, what if at the same time she said, it's your husband,
Yeah.
and she said, it's my husband?
No. Because Kerry Washington, badly, says it's your husband and Angelina Jolie can actually act and does a facial expression.
Yeah.
We put that all together as an audience, which I quite like.
Yep. There were okay. So with the
The
writing,
fact, though, that John didn't recognize his wife's work address annoyed me.
yeah, okay,
Yeah?
yeah, and then it annoyed me when he worked it out. Anyway, the writing was interesting because it is a bit like a lot of the lines are a bit like, ugh, get it.
Oh,
Because
when
they're
he's-
husband and wife.
Well, or there's like, there's just sometimes I just want to...
Yeah. That was funny at the end.
Yeah, but when he said it in his solo, it was one of those things that we know I don't like, where they're like, put this little bit in to come up later. Like when Kim Basinger said, "Are you afraid of flying?"
There was other stuff where it's like double entendre.
To Batman, not in this movie.
Yeah. She's not in. I was like, Kim Basinger? Is she the one that blew him up in the elevator? No.
The double entendre about the body count.
No, it was. I don't know if double entendre is the right word. It's almost pun, where it's just like they'll say something that's can mean both assassin language and marriage language.
Oh, okay.
I can't think of an example right now, which is bad.
Well, was when they had the dinner and he thought he was trying to poison, and
Yeah.
she's like, two people going for the same contract, like those kind of.
How did your contract work out? Blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
That's not work and marriage. That's assassin and other work.
Yeah. But I can't think, but it did get a bit tired
Yeah.
for me.
I liked, but also didn't like some of the sexual euphemisms.
Like the body count.
Press the button. You couldn't find the button. I wrote it down. You couldn't find the button with two hands and a map.
Well,
And then he goes.
does that say more about him or her?
Then she goes, "What do you want me to play dead?" And he says, "After 5 years of marriage,
yeah.
you'd be good at that."
6.
Five, 5 or 6. I liked it in that it shows a bit of banter between them.
Yep.
I, in this case, liked that it ticked those after marriage, your sex is shit trope.
Yeah.
In a way, because in a lot of ways they flip those tropes, I allowed them to put more in.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm allowing them to use the "you can't find the clitoris" joke and the "lie back and think of England" joke as the two stereotype tropey things. I allowed them in because then they kind of flip those tropes a little bit or play on them, because she stores her guns in the kitchen and he stores his guns in the garden shed.
Yep.
So that's almost a little nod to this is how shit their marriage is as well.
Yeah.
Because he's never going in the kitchen.
He's never in the kitchen. She's never going in the
She's
shed.
never in the shed.
Yeah.
He
Also, when
probably
she does go in the shed.
But also, he probably is never in the shed. Also, they have a gardener, which is set up early. The gardener left the mower out. So,
Which is what the point of...
he's got to be out in the rain hating life.
Okay, a lot of this movie, I was like... I feel like when they were writing it or directing it, I don't know at what point, it was like, okay, guys, when can we get Brad wet? That's bad. That was maybe a bad choice of words.
That's what Angelina was saying, offset.
Yeah. It was just like, okay, what if the mower's out in the rain and he has to put the mower... Yep, then it'll be wet.
Yeah. Then his shirt will cling to his chest.
Yeah, let's do it. Put it in there.
Yeah, I there were a couple of things where I'm like, oh, we don't need this thing. I don't
I think that thing was called Vince Vaughn.
Well, I kind of... from memory, I said it at the end of our
you did.
episode last week. I like Vince Vaughn in it, but I don't.
No.
Why does he live with his mum?
Because he's a dick.
I kept getting really...
Because no woman's going to have him?
I kept getting really confused. Well, not really confused. I kept thinking he was going to do that, like, that Will Ferrell scene where he calls out for his mum to make him meatloaf. You know that one?
What the fuck?
I don't know what movie it's from.
Probably Step Brothers?
But no, it's from like a meme, and Will Ferrell's sitting there on the couch talking to someone. He's like, "Ma, meatloaf!" Like, I can't. People reference it, and I don't know what movie it's from.
Okay, great.
And you won't because you don't like Will Ferrell.
I've watched 3 Will Ferrell. Actually, I've watched more than that because he's in 2 Austin Powers.
Yeah, and you've watched 2 for this podcast.
Yes.
So there were some things that I think were unnecessary. I think, in going back to what you were saying before about it feeling long, that is a pacing issue as a writer.
Yeah.
And I think they did too much fuck their marriage is fucked, which if you go into the movie knowing that there's assassins, that bit's way too long. If you go into the movie not knowing, that stuff is way too shallow.
Yep.
In the not noticing that he's got lipstick on his collar. In
She would notice.
him not, realizing that she can't cook. Or like she doesn't, little bits and pieces like that. Him realizing that she puts perfume on before she goes to work. That time where she's like, oh, I've got a late last minute call for a client, and she's dressed really nicely and she's just put perfume on
Oh, she got the trench coat to cover
up
the
the fact
S&M.
that she's a dominatrix. That
Unnecessarily.
he would have noticed that stuff.
Yeah.
She would have noticed the thing on the thing. And if you were doing a movie with a long setup of this as just an ordinary suburban couple who hate their marriage and then twist it, that stuff was too shallow. But
Yeah.
if you know they were snipers, then that stuff is too long.
I think the other thing that made it drag was that it's the start bit, then they get I nearly said Adrian Brody then, right? Then they get the same target, and that's a small thing.
Yep.
Then they work out that they're against each other. Then they try to kill each other.
Yeah. Yes.
That goes for half the movie. Oh, wait. Remember him from before? That's still a thing.
Yeah. I think
So then they had to do that again.
a lot of these, if you think about it boiled down into its simplistic like scenes, a lot of these things are necessary for the premise of the movie, right? The therapy scene is necessary. The scene where they're at the party and totally not happy, not only not happy in their marriage, but not happy being suburban people. Like, he doesn't want to talk about investments. She doesn't want to talk about babies. That's a necessary scene.
Yeah.
The meet cute is a necessary scene. The
therapy at the bit. I like the therapy.
Yeah, the therapy scenes are great and necessary to work this failed romance story. The thing that brings them together, that leads them to realize that they're both assassins, is necessary. The scene at Vince Vaughn's house, probably not so necessary.
Well, the other trope that
could have killed you right now.
Yeah.
Unnecessary.
the other trope that they do is the man goes with his man friend, the girl goes with his girlfriend, with her girlfriend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I suppose it's part of a bigger picture because then she's just got all these female agents.
Yeah. I've got a couple of things to say about the different agencies.
Yeah.
Should I say that now or should I say that in changes?
Oh, okay.
I'll save it. And then in terms of the action movie, I'm thinking of a book that I read recently, and if there are any millennial women listening, they'll hate me for saying that I didn't like the book The Fourth Wing.
Oh, 50 Shades of Grey. Right.
No, I didn't like the book The Fourth Wing because...
Do I have a friend that was just reading that?
Probably. Because, is she a millennial-ish woman?
Continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, go.
Rebecca Yarros is a romance writer, right?
Yeah.
And you'll hate it. Romantasy is becoming a genre, right?
What's it? Romantasy?
Romance and fantasy.
Oh, fucking hell, people.
But what Rebecca Yarros has done is written a romance book and written a fantasy book and then put them together without taking any parts of either of them out. So it's like a 600-page book.
I think this person...
And so I think Mr. and Mrs. Smith has done a bit of that.
Raction.
Right? If you have a romance movie and an action movie, if you just had an action movie... Yeah, if you took the romance bit out of it, then you just go, the inciting incident comes much earlier. There is an inciting incident in terms of their marriage, and there's an inciting incident in terms of their action.
Yes. Yeah.
If you took out a whole lot of that romance stuff, you can build out the action a little bit more and make it an hour 45 of action movie.
Yep.
Because all of the action scenes are necessary. A scene that brings them together to make them realize that they're actually enemies. And then that makes them... and then scenes that make them have to go against each other. And then scenes that have to bring them back together. So when they have that unnecessary breakfast with Vince Vaughn and decide they're going to work together, that then sets up the third act of the film. But the third act of the film comes after an hour and 30 minutes.
Exactly. That's the problem. I think that they're trying to do too much with it.
Yeah.
The person I know that I think read that book she was reading something else, and there's a series, and the series isn't complete yet. So while she's waiting for the third book in that series to come out, she's reading something else instead.
Well...
And it was like, if you liked this, you'll like this Fourth Wing.
Oh, okay.
Or is that already... Maybe I'm completely getting it wrong.
There is a second and a third book coming in the Fourth Wing series. But you're thinking of something else that people should read. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I don't know.
Oh, we're not talking about this. Neither of us are the target market for anything Rebecca Yarros writes.
Right.
Okay? So, yeah, that's my story thing of the movie. I like the romance action combination, and the tropes and the necessary scenes are there for both, but I think they tried to balance it a little bit too much.
Yep.
And I would have liked a little bit more, I think, and it would have hit a little bit better if they had put more romance tropes flipped within the action stuff.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like the meet cute in Bogota and the revelation of truths, which is not what the trope is called, but it should be.
That sounds like a book as well.
In a car chase. Maybe I'll write that title
Fourth
down.
Wing 3, Revelation of Truths.
Revelation of Truths. I'm going to write the book.
Can
I talk about some other things to do
Sure.
with the movie? It was a bit rough seeing him beat her up. I'm going to be honest.
It was a kicking, like when she was on the ground, he's just kicking the shit out of her.
Yeah. I think
God, I thought I was watching the bloody Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. Jesus.
I think the scene is great. And I think as much as they set it up really well, she's a tough, can fight for herself woman, it is still a little bit hard seeing a guy beat a girl.
That harshly as well. Like, it's not a love tap. It's a kicking her in the square in the, I hope, gut.
But then they do use the flipped couch to cover him really, like, kicking her.
Yeah.
Which...
And it also is like... That's also what sex looks like. Not the kicking, but like they're on the ground rolling around shit.
Oh, yeah,
is what I got from it. Anyway.
That is what sex looks like.
Yeah.
One thing that didn't fit for me, right? Gambling addict drunk is a very stereotypical male husband secret.
Yeah.
Dominatrix whore is not. And so those things didn't match for me in that scene.
What? When they were writing it.
Yep.
Okay, so guys, Angelina's signed on. Okay, great. I have this image of her as a dominatrix whipping someone. How can we get that in?
Now, do you know what it was?
We'll make a $50 million extra on the box office if we put that in there.
You know what it would be these days is they signed on Angelina.
Yeah.
And then one of the interns is just fucking around with AI. And then one of the producers accidentally finds an AI version of Angelina in a dominatrix outfit in someone's hidden folder on their work laptop. And rather than getting sacked for having
he gets promoted.
AI porn on his work laptop, he just says, "Oh, that's an idea for the movie." And there you go. There's a scene. But the handbag gadget is very cool.
Very good. She looks fucking incredible. Like, it is absolutely ridiculous.
This, as much as we've bagged the story, we were talking about it just before we came on with my husband and housemate, and saying, you were like, the movie is boring. And I was like, yeah, it's a fucking slow movie, but damn, they're fucking hot.
Yeah, that's basically the story. That's like, that's the tagline.
Even just...
boring, but hot.
Even just
3 stars, Roger Ebert.
Even the two of them sitting there in the therapy at the start, you're just like... It's a fucking attractive couple. No wonder they fucking got married.
Yeah.
No wonder they started fucking while on the movie.
Yeah.
Though, Jennifer Aniston's also hot,
I
Brad.
mean, yeah, like, it's like he went from an A++ to an A+.
And
other way.
Angelina, before Brad had Billy Bob Thornton.
Well, she got an upgrade.
So she got an upgrade. So, no blood vials.
I do like that she's a lot better at being an agent than him.
Yeah.
Like, she's just sophisticated and knows all the shit and has all the gadgets and her whole crew of a coven of agents.
Charlie's Angels.
And then he's just like mom and pop with Vince Vaughn, who's from what I can gather, useless.
Yep.
But that might just be Vince Vaughn.
It could be Vince Vaughn. You know, I'm going to bring it up later. Yeah. Vince Vaughn's very happy about this movie for a couple of reasons. A couple more story things. The building of tension is it goes here, and then once they realize, it's just like boom, and that dinner.
Yeah.
And the sound.
The dinner is good. The sound's ridiculous.
Sound of the knives. I loved it.
I hated it.
It's a bit over the top, but
we disagreed.
I'm wearing
it's just like,
Quentin Tarantino t-shirt, so I'm okay
like
with
that.
over the
it's
top.
It's just like swing, 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 swing. Well, mine has knives as well. Well, one
knife.
But it's just like, let me cut up this bread. Swing, swing.
Nah,
I don't know why I'm doing Wayne's World, but whatever.
I thought it was good, and then there's the poison, and then there's the dropping of the wine bottle.
There are a few mistakes as well with the action. There's like, bang, 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 bang. You're not shooting. Like, there's no bullets coming out of your gun.
Okay.
There's a few, we'll say, sound editing issues.
Yeah. One issue I had was the complete lack of OH&S. And I know I brought this up at the chemical factory in Batman. But the women dropped that elevator while there were workmen around.
Oh, well, yeah. How did they get in there? That shouldn't be a working elevator if the building's not finished. Surely you do the elevators no, you do them first.
You do a service elevator.
Yeah.
But they normally have those ones on the outside of the building for the construction crew.
Yeah.
But they dropped an elevator. There could have been construction crew around.
You said goodbye.
That's a good line, though.
That is. I actually laughed at that. I was like, ha ha ha! Keep going. Then the movie went for another hour.
So then one of the criticisms of the trying to do two genres in once and it doesn't quite land is that they go from fighting to sex very quickly.
Look at him.
Yeah, but like in terms of character, that happens very quickly. And also...
If Brad Pitt still beat the shit out of me, I'd still be like, yep.
And then they fall back in love quite quickly.
Yeah.
There's nowhere I'd rather be than here with you.
Blech.
Up until that point, she's kept it... We as an audience are pretty much still like, does she actually love him? We're not sure she's sure.
No.
If she loves him. And so that seemed quick to me.
Yeah.
But...
You know the bit I hated the most in the movie?
The 2 hours of dragging?
No.
Oh.
When they're like interrogating Adam Brody and he's wearing a Fight Club t-shirt.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Hated it.
Oh.
Do you reckon he rocked up on set that day and Brad Pitt was like, so you want me to punch you? Like, fuck off. What are you doing?
Yeah, that's odd. They let that in.
It was an interesting choice that I hated.
Yeah. Glenn Howerton from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Heard an interview with him on a show.
Great.
A talk show he won.
Yeah.
One that would have been Letterman before the Jimmys took over.
Oh.
And there was like all of the characters in Philadelphia, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, seem a bit could be gay.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, that's right. And he's like, but in real life, like, there's a spectrum. And, like, people could be. He's like, I'm pretty straight, but I don't think there's a man alive that watched Fight Club and saw Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And wasn't like, damn.
Yeah.
That's my just story.
I was wondering where that story was going.
The look on your face was like, oh, fuck, is there some point to this tangent? Let's kill the tangents, and you can talk about the impacts.
The tangent was that everybody watching this movie was a teeny bit bisexual.
Yeah. That is the tangent. That's how we started the episode.
In terms of awards, interestingly, not much.
Not sound design?
It got MTV Movie Awards for both Best Fight and Best Kiss.
Hottest Couple? Do they still do that? Or was that one of the ones they deleted?
I don't know. So it grossed a total of $487 million. from a $100 million budget. I'm assuming $95 million of that $100 million budget was to pay for Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie.
Yeah. And of that 95 million, 80 million was to pay Brad.
Yeah. It was the highest grossing film for both Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie when it came up.
Oh, higher than Tomb Raider.
But then it was later surpassed by World War Z for Brad Pitt.
Yep.
And Maleficent for Jolie. Makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
It was the 7th highest grossing movie of 2005, right? Mm-hmm. Not that high. But Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Yes.
Star Wars Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, yes.
War of the Worlds. Narnia. King Kong, Madagascar. Like, if you were 7th underneath those.
King Kong,
right?
Comma, Madagascar. The way you said that, I thought it was a colon.
King Kong, Madagascar. Yeah.
King Kong, Madagascar Island.
Yeah. It's like Survivor Madagascar.
Move it.
Yeah.
But King Kong.
Yeah. So 7th on that list isn't bad, considering some of the ones above it.
Yeah. That's even the shit Star Wars is going to box office bank.
It's now a TV series that I haven't watched.
Do you want me to talk about that now because I have watched an episode, or do you want to talk about the relational impacts first?
No, do that.
One thing that annoys me is when you take a title and don't... when you take a title from an established property and don't use the premise.
Oh, what?
Yeah. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Donald Glover and her. I don't think she'll be offended that I know Donald Glover more than I know her.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the artist, her.
No. They are married.
Hence the Mr. and Mrs.
But they aren't already married and then they find out they're assassins.
Oh, fuck off.
They are agents that get given the cover of being married. And then at the end of the episode, they find out they're assassins.
Isn't that... Yeah, okay. That sounds like another movie.
I like that premise.
I like that premise, but it sounds like, again, another... So it sounds like another story they've taken, but kept Mr. and Mrs. Smith because that's a more memorable movie?
They are definitely banking on the weight of the name of the property. But... And I don't know if later on in the series... Like, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Smith 2 with Brad and Angelina... could have been, now that they've taken out the two big companies, Macy's and Gimbels, they can become whatever the other
Smith
one is.
Family.
Walmart.
Yeah.
And be much less, but more of them.
Right.
And then they've taken that concept of, right, a husband and wife assassin team can be good going down the line. And so this company pops up that pairs agents as husband and wife to go undercover. So that's what the premise of the TV show is.
That's a good premise.
A company pairs agents as husband and wife to go undercover, and the Mrs. Smith in the show even says, you're less conspicuous if you're a couple. Like if Donald Glover was just sitting by himself in a cafe watching a woman, it's much...
Well, one, you're a creep.
Yeah. Two, you end up on a Karen's Instagram live feed.
Yeah.
You're a black man sitting in a cafe by yourself. But if they're a couple... even though they were very obviously watching one person, they're less conspicuous.
Yeah.
So the premise I like, and it's a well-made show and well-written, and written by Donald Glover as well. So I'm going to keep watching it, but it annoyed me in that it is not the premise of the movie, even though they've taken the title of the property.
Okay. I agree.
Good show, though. Do recommend.
Cool. So in The Simpsons, there was Treehouse of Horror. What the fuck number is that? 18.
It's like counting Super Bowls.
One of the 3 movies spoofed was Mr. and Mrs. Simpson.
Okay.
And Homer and Marge are expert assassins.
Yep, that's good.
And then in Family Guy, there's a TV episode called Mr. and Mrs. Stewie, where he gets a girlfriend who is also a psycho person that wants to blow shit up.
Oh.
And I'm pretty sure it's voiced by Kate Blanchett.
I did Lewis.
Show me potato salad.
I saw a Family Guy thing the other day, and it was the 4 of them,
Before
Seth
Oh,
MacFarlane.
yeah, because it's the 25th anniversary.
Yeah, so Seth MacFarlane,
Alex Borstein.
Mila Kunis,
Yeah.
and Seth Green
Yeah.
sitting around a table,
Yeah.
much like this,
Yeah.
but with 2 more cameras and a lot more money.
A lot more millions of dollars.
Yeah, and
Just as funny.
Seth MacFarlane was saying that he's noticed that their voices have gotten higher
Yeah.
as they go along.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
he said if you compare the original Simpsons to the Simpsons now, they're getting a lot higher. And Alex Borstein made a good point. She said, as my voice naturally gets lower,
Yep.
I have to work to get Lois's voice, and then that pinching drives it higher.
Then that... It was funny because then they each did like an example of their voice.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like almost spot on. Like Seth Green remembered the voice he did for Chris in episode 1.
Yeah, of course.
He was just like, and then and then Seth Green goes to Mila Kunis, goes, how about you? What voice did you do?
Yeah.
And then Alex Borstein said, please tell me she earns less than us. But like, I think Mila Kunis...
It wasn't Mila Kunis originally, was it?
No, it was Lacey Chabert.
But also, it's just Mila Kunis's voice.
Yeah, she just is Mila Kunis.
Yeah, which is fine.
Which is fine. Brian is just Seth MacFarlane's voice.
MacFarlane, and
like,
I'm
he
sure
could put in some more effort.
I'm sure there's a Seth Green character that's just him too.
Yeah. Anyway, so alternate castings.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt and Nicole Kidman were originally cast as the leads when the director got the script. Right?
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Yep.
Then Kidman's shooting schedule conflicted with the director, so she had to exit the film.
What does she do in Australia?
Because you would keep well-known director Doug Liman over Nicole Kidman, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And then Pitt...
What did she do instead?
I don't know.
Let me look while you do that.
2005, Stepford Wives?
Bewitched?
Oh, it might have been Bewitched. So Brad Pitt dropped out as well because he must have really wanted to work with Nicole Kidman. I don't know.
It was Bewitched.
Oh, Jesus.
Stepford Wives came out in 2004 along with Birth. But Bewitched came out in 2005 with your mate Will Ferrell.
Oh, there you go.
And The Interpreter.
Oh, of course, The Interpreter.
Yep.
And
then Happy Feet. So she did okay.
She did all right. She got the AFI American
Australian
Life Achievement Award. Lyman then considered Will Smith and Catherine Zeta-Jones
to replace Nicole. Oh no, okay,
yeah. And Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Oh, that would have been good.
Catherine would have been good. Will, not so much.
Well,
no, could you be your Will Smith in a movie called Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
No, that's fine.
Imagine if it was Jada.
What, as opposed to Will playing Will in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Yeah, but that was different because he had a name. Far out.
So it's
because in 2005 he was no one.
Yeah, Will Smith playing John Smith is not okay.
No.
Will Smith playing Will someone else.
You know what I mean.
Okay.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he then also considered pairing Johnny Depp and Cate Blanchett.
Cate Blanchett would have, quote, killed it.
Yeah, pun.
Johnny Depp,
no.
Too weird. Because as attractive as Brad Pitt is, you can put him in a suit and he passes.
As a normal guy. Yeah.
Johnny Depp, that's harder.
You can't... Johnny Depp isn't conspicuous enough.
Isn't inconspicuous enough. He's too conspicuous.
You know what? I did a double negative, and so I took that off. So I thought it was going to be... Yeah.
Brad Pitt is a guy where you just go, well...
He's just someone's hot dad.
Look at my fucking hot neighbour over here.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp is like, look at my neighbour that would be really hot if he stopped drinking red wine.
Yeah. Did you hear his wife shat in his bed last night? Someone else also auditioned for the role of Jane Smith.
Who?
Gwen Stefani.
Ooh.
Because she would have been peeking back on her solo What You're Waiting For cultural appropriation.
This shit is bananas, though, this movie.
Yeah.
Gwen Stefani. When do you reckon Holla Back Girl came out?
2004.
Holla Back Girl song by Gwen Stefani came out in 2004 off the album Love Angel,
Music Baby. Then they set the casting so he got able to sign Angelina.
Yep.
And then Pitt was like, yeah, okay, I'll do it.
Angelina, you mean, or the movie?
Well, both. In terms of cultural impact, just ask Jen.
Yeah. That's our top 5.
Yeah,
Spoiler alert, but we've got to do our awards first.
Yeah.
Any more impact?
No. Okay, look, the movie's average. The story behind the movie is behind the scenes. That's why everybody still talks about this movie.
Yeah.
So, make of that as what you will.
A couple of changes first. Not necessarily a change, but a couple of gender things that I noticed. Right? Yeah. To do with the two agencies.
Yeah.
John is the boss.
Yeah.
But Angelina is just the good agent.
I thought she was the CEO. Oh, that was a fake. No, she was in charge.
There's the father, which is the thing.
Oh, the boss, Bosley.
The only man in Angelina's organisation is the boss.
That makes it creepy now.
The only woman... I wrote this note before I saw the woman work on the computers. The only woman in John's organisation is the secretary.
Interesting.
Anyway, that was just a gender thing that I noticed. But there are plenty of women talking about things other than men in this movie. So it passes that the bechamel test.
Bechamel test. Yeah. Delicious.
I'm going to say, is Vince Vaughn on my thing of vague movies? If I say Vince Vaughn from Mr. and Mrs. Smith...
No. Vince Vaughn from Psycho.
Okay, Vince Vaughn from Psycho. Yeah, that's the next one that popped into my head. But...
Like you go, Will Ferrell. Oh, Will Ferrell from Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Will Ferrell from Bewitched.
Not obscure, not worst.
No, because if you add up the number of minutes where Will Ferrell's combined... People have watched minutes of him in Austin Powers, right?
More than Bewitched.
More than even though he's Darren in Bewitched.
Yeah.
So few people have seen Bewitched that he's been viewed in more minutes as the guy with the fez, cultural appropriation, than he has been viewed as Darren Stevens. There's a lot of maths that goes into that equation. I'm not going to bore you with it.
You mean Will Ferrell from Land of the Lost? Or is it that? Or is it Journey to the Centre of the Earth?
I'm going Vince Vaughn with Psycho. Vince Vaughn from Psycho.
Cool.
And I'm going Angelina Jolie. She doesn't really have an obscure
No, because she hasn't done much.
No. And that
recently,
it's like Brad Pitt from Thelma and Louise.
Yeah, I know.
Brad Pitt from Friends.
Brad Pitt from Friends.
Yeah. No,
he was no one then.
When you name people in Friends, you name the 6.
And then you name Gunther.
Yeah, and then you name Gunther. And
then
you
the
name
parents.
Lisa Kudrow again. And then you name the guy with the mustache, Magnum P.I.
Yeah, Tom Selleck. Yeah.
Before you get to Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
I reckon.
Okay. Anyway, should we give some awards?
Yes. The Andy Millman Worst Extra Award.
I had an early nominee straight off the bat.
I struggled with extras, to be honest.
Yeah, so did I.
Nothing stood out at me, good or bad, but I'm nominating all of the couples on the dance floor.
At the start?
That when they dance and feel each other up to get the
and
weapons.
she goes down on him.
Yeah. All of the couples on the dance floor because they are very clearly dancing to different songs in their heads.
Well, I said at the very
different
start,
tempos.
When they're in Colombia, the guy with the ponytail dancing, because he can't dance.
Oh, that's okay. You're allowed to not dance.
He's Colombian.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, that's... Yeah. I'm being...
Obviously not done enough.
Stereotyping.
Cocaine.
And then I also wrote The Neighbor. So, when he's like, I'm going to take a neighbor into the house in case she's like fucking going to shoot me.
Booby trapped.
And he's like, wow, great floor. Like, terrible.
Do you think he was worried that like a paint can was going to swing down from the stairs or something?
Yeah, I think he was worried about... Well, he got through the door handle, so that wasn't hot.
That wasn't, set on fire.
But then he was in case like a cardboard cutout of Michael Jordan.
Or there were some Matchbox cars for
Yeah,
to slip on. Yeah. Niche references.
No, this house is too small compared to Home Alone. That's all I really had. And then I had the limo driver.
Oh, when he just goes, limo, sir?
Yeah.
This guy's just blown up a mailbox.
Yeah.
Don't offer him a limo, which he then steals.
That's when I was like, oh, he's someone. But then he was no one. He just kicked him out of the limo.
The limo driver from that great Christmas movie, Die Hard.
Yeah. He was good in that, the limo driver.
He was, actually. All right. Well,
actually, so I had one that was I didn't know if it was best or worst, so it might tie in with your worst. You know when they are dancing and she goes down on him to check that he hasn't smuggled anything.
He looks in the camera,
and then he looks at the old couple.
Yeah,
and I was expecting it to be like, you know, what would have been better? The old man being like, "Hey," and then the woman hitting him or something.
Yeah, rather than just
going at the camera.
I thought you would have already yelled at the screen because he looked into the camera.
Well, I thought he was looking at the camera, but he was looking at the couple that were behind the camera.
You meant to go like he's doing a meta moment, but then he looks at the couple. I'm happy to nominate them because they don't react, but also because that's lame.
Yeah, it's bad. Good.
That's a lame joke.
Good. I'll take it off my best extra.
Lyman's part. All right. So, old couple when she dances a blowjob.
Pretty much.
So
I wrote that. Old dancing couple when they're dancing and she goes down on him.
Yeah. That's the Andy Millman Worst Extra Award, the Estelle Reiner Best Extra Award. The baby that smiles.
I wrote the woman in her agency that rips apart that teddy bear. She looks to be quite enjoying it.
Yeah, she is enjoying it.
And then I wrote that, and then they're at the thing and then he's going to blow up. It's like, that you're ticking.
Oh, yeah.
But that actually wasn't that good. I was struggling. I'm going to be honest. What
about
Adam Brody?
DNF? Did not award. Could be Adam Brody. He's bad.
He's not best extra then.
Yeah.
No, I got nothing.
Did not award.
I got nothing. There are no good extras in this movie. There might be, actually.
There's no standout extras.
There was one extra. When she gets her bag and she goes down the building.
Yeah.
And she lands and that guy is waiting for a taxi.
Oh, yeah.
He's almost good, but he slightly overreacts. And then it's just like...
We're clutching at straws.
She's just like, taxi.
He's not the kind of reaction to Nathan Lane squealing in Birdcage.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Or the guy with the shopping bags in Love Actually.
Yep.
That's the kind of level of overreacting extras we need for Best Extra.
Okay, all right. We'll skip it.
DNA did not award. The Halle Berry X-Men Worst Line Award. The way Vince Vaughn talks to and about women.
You got your ass handed to you by some girl.
Unnecessary. I wouldn't mind her kicking my ass, if you know what I mean. Calling every waitress honey and sweetheart. And I understand that his character...
Do we need to do a compilation like when we did a compilation of Kate Capshaw screaming?
Yeah. I get that his character is meant to be shit with women.
I think it's just meant to be shit.
But none of the women react badly to these lines.
Yeah.
So that's being like, maybe he's okay with women.
I also wrote, when he goes and then goes to the building and it says Jane Smith, and he just goes, sweet Jesus, Mother of God. I'm like, is that the best you could come up with?
The only way I'm going to use Jesus' name in vain is the way Cheryl Lee Ralph does it in Abbott Elementary. When she says, sweet baby Jesus and the grown one too.
I then also wrote, this isn't a line, but they're in a fight. Which one is it? I think it's when then there are people trying to kill them in their house.
Yeah, okay, yep.
And somebody throws in like a grenade-y thing and then he kicks it and it goes under a tank.
Yes.
And on the tank it says fuel oil.
Yeah, yeah.
So not a line, but
Just there being a tank in the basement, I reckon it's going to be
fuel oil.
some kind of fuel.
What?
Fuel oil.
But what for?
The furnace.
Oh, okay.
Hello, Kevin. The furnace.
Great.
To just put another Home Alone reference in.
I'm happy to do a Vince Vaughn
I got a couple other
compilation.
ones. I'm agreeing on the Vince Vaughn compilation, but I just want to bring up, she says to him, "Who's your daddy now?" Unnecessary.
Oh, I see. When he says, "Come to daddy,"
Yeah.
and then I hated that. But when she says, "Who's your daddy now?" I then liked it.
Oh, okay. She does the therapy on her own, and she says, "I can feel this space between us filling up with the things we don't say to each other. What's that called?" And the therapist says, "Marriage." No.
No, you're a marriage
A
therapist.
marriage therapist is not saying that.
You're saying, yeah, so give up.
Yeah, you're saying dysfunctional marriage.
Yeah.
Let's fix it. Mm. And I've already mentioned there's nowhere I'd rather be than here with you when they're in the manure shed. But in the Bunnings type store.
Yeah.
But the way Vince Vaughn talks to and about women, worst.
Yeah.
Worst line.
You got your ass handed to you by some girl was the peak, because I think it was like, no, she's like an agent as well.
She's better.
So it's not just some girl.
Yeah, it's not a random girl. He's come to you and go, "My wife is an elite assassin."
Yeah.
And Vince Vaughn still calls her some girl.
Yeah. Although I don't know if at that point they knew it was her. Anyway.
Well, they knew it was an elite assassin woman.
Yeah.
That's the Halle Berry X-Men
Did you
Worst
cry?
Line Award. I did not cry.
Cool.
The Darth Vader, "I am your father," most iconic scene for Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I think there is only one choice, and let's say it together. It's the fight in the house.
Oh.
Oh, what are you saying?
Well, I said that fight that ends in sex. That's what I said.
Well, that's the fight in the house.
I
that
then
was
also
referencing.
said
I did this whole build-up.
the scene where she's dressed like a dominatrix and then like gets the bag and floats down
That's a very cool scene.
the building.
It's a very cool
because she
scene.
looks fucking incredible, and that is the point of the movie.
That's true, actually.
So if there was one scene that encapsulates how good she looks, it's that.
Yeah, okay.
But the fight, them fighting each other, is probably the other point of the movie, really.
In terms of scenes, one of the things that grated with me is the mid-2000s quick jumpy zoom of action movies. Like when she's in a little hidey hole in the desert and it does this
Yeah, to her.
zooming into her. Yeah.
I will
it's
say-
very much that Drew Lyman watched Mission Impossible.
Doug
Lyman watched Mission Impossible.
Yeah. We'll do the fight, I guess.
Well, I already bolded it.
Great.
And I haven't written any other notes, and I did a big build-up saying there was only one possibility.
I will say, not only is Jane Smith a better assassin-y agent, whatever, than John Smith, Angelina Jolie is much better in this movie than Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
She's a better action star than Brad Pitt.
He's a little bit by the numbers.
And
I think I agree. Brad Pitt is overrated as action.
well, I was
underrated.
When I was watching it.
Underrated in comedy, Brad Pitt, I
When I
reckon.
was watching it, I was like, I was trying to think of another action movie that Brad Pitt had done.
Troy. Barely.
Historical.
Not a Mission Impossible-y type action
No.
movie. He's done a lot of movies.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, so I couldn't really think of one. I'm sure there's one.
The one on the train, Bullet Train.
Oh, that's recent, isn't it?
That's recent, yeah.
She's very good.
His first name's not Brad.
It's Adam.
William Bradley Pitt. And he's executive producer of Three Body Problem.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, Bullet Train. Just doing a quick scan. Deadpool 2, he just has a cameo in. World War Z, he was in that, wasn't he? Or was that Tom Cruise?
Yeah, he was in that.
Yeah,
That's War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds, yeah. Yeah, he's not an action movie guy. Inglourious Bastards is kind of close. The Ocean's movies,
But they're not
they're
action.
heist movies. They're not
Yeah.
action.
Anyway.
Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas, that's animated. Yeah, he's not a...
Because then I was thinking about this, and then she did Tomb Raider, and then she did that Salt movie that was really good.
very good, actually. She fought them.
Because it was meant to be Tom Cruise.
Well, because it was meant to be a man, and she's like, no, I can do it. But then when they kind of rewrote it to be a woman, they wrote in a scene where her husband comes and saves her at the end.
Fucking dumb.
And she's like, fuck that right off.
Fuck that right off.
I am Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
My triangle tits have been entertaining boys for years.
Uh-huh.
You will let me fight the baddies at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
If you don't get that reference, you're too young. All right.
Because back in the day, triangle tits were hot. That's the reference.
Back in the day, everyone had triangle tits.
Yeah.
That's the joke of
Look at
Madonna's
the old,
bra.
yeah. That's where it all started.
That's what it's referencing.
Before that, they were round.
Yeah, and square heads were in too.
And when they were bigger.
Yeah,
the
big
Donkey Kong mode.
Square heads.
Yeah.
That was in, and triangle tits. If you had that combination, like Natasha,
whatever, in GoldenEye
64, that was the peak
Yeah.
of female physical perfection. Like, I'm an expert.
Yep. Well, he played a lot of GoldenEye. And I always
I
picked
saw
her.
a lot of triangle
I
tits.
picked not the baddie, the goodie.
She is the goodie, Natalia.
Who's the baddie?
The other one.
Oh.
Played by Famke
Janssen.
Janssen. That she tries to choke him out with the sex move.
Ivana Hump a lot. That's
Ivana
it.
Hump.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do something else.
Yeah.
To get off this track and to talk about things. So because we're reviewing Mr. and Mrs. Smith,
Yeah.
that, not arguably, factually, ended a marriage
Facts are all there, yes.
and started another,
Uh-huh.
we are going to rank the top 5 movies that ended marriages.
Oh.
Side note, right? Brad Pitt met Angelina on Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yep.
That sub-starred, not co-starred because he was below, Vince Vaughn, who ended up dating Jennifer Aniston
That's true.
the next year.
Weird.
And then another one of the movies on my list features Jennifer Aniston.
Is it Spanglish? No, is she even in that?
No.
No, what is it?
Are we doing a 5, 4, 3 to 1, or are we nominating some movies and picking?
We're nominating movies and picking. Let's do
Okay.
that.
So one of the ones I have was Wanderlust,
Okay.
which is a very funny movie. Paul Rudd is married to Jennifer Aniston in the movie.
Hilarious.
And then they go traveling,
Yeah.
and then they find this like kind of hippie commune.
With Justin Theroux.
Justin Theroux was dating someone at the time. Jennifer Aniston was also dating someone at the time, and they left their respective partners to date and marry.
I have one.
Yep.
The movie's terrible.
Daredevil.
Daredevil.
I also had that. I actually...
I wonder if Gigli also helped end their relationship. Mutually, though. Ben and Jen.
It was a
The other Ben and
contributing
Jen.
factor. So Bennifer were dating at the start of Daredevil, and Jennifer Garner was dating Scott Foley.
Yeah.
Bennifer were married, actually.
Yeah.
And then they split, and Ben Affleck got with a different Jennifer, just so he didn't have to change his tattoo.
Yep.
Another one in terms of terrible comic book movies, Ryan Reynolds met Blake Lively on the set of Green Lantern.
Oh, but were they already couples?
Blake Lively was already with the one from Gossip Girl,
Penn Badgley.
Penn Badgley, and Ryan Reynolds was also with someone that, even though I read the article yesterday, I've forgotten the name of.
Oh, so the girl from Two Guys, a Girl in a Pizza
Sure.
Place. I have an oldies.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you do have an oldie, but I've not seen it, so I didn't put it on my list. Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall.
Yeah, I have 2 oldies.
To hear
To
and
have and have
there.
not.
Yep, that's what I was thinking.
So Lauren Bacall was new on the scene.
Well, she was 19.
Humphrey Bogart was dating somebody else.
And he was not new on
And
the
he was
scene.
not 19. And then they were together.
Yeah.
Bergie and Bacall. And then they did like fucking 6 movies together or something.
And they were the couple.
Pretty much.
I've got another one. I've not seen it, but I'm going to mention it because it's appeared on all the lists that I looked at.
Okay. Is it Days of Thunder?
Proof of Life.
Proof of Life.
Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid were married before this. Gave us Jack Quaid, Nepo baby from The Boys.
Cultural impact.
And but then Meg rooted Russell, and that was that done.
I forgot they dated.
Yeah.
Days of Thunder's on my list.
Yes, I haven't seen it either.
Because Nicole and Tom weren't a thing yet because they hadn't told him who to marry.
Well, the flip of that is apparently it was Eyes Wide Shut that ended their marriage because they were both living in London for the whole of the filming.
Yeah.
And they were outside of the grasp of Scientology. So then when they got back, the Scientology people were apparently allegedly were like, well, you owe us some time now. You need to be, according to one article, Scientology Jesus, and be single. And then we're going to give you Katie Holmes.
You know who's never gone to London?
Katie Holmes.
Yeah. Look it up. She's been to London, I'm sure.
I saw a meme today
that was the royal wedding.
Saw a meme today that was a quote, like a tweet meme, and it said, just putting it out there that we have an entire generation of women that would absolutely binge a show of just Nicole Kidman and Katie Holmes on the couch drinking wine, talking shit about Tom Cruise.
Oh, it'd be like Gogglebox, but they're talking about Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Like, they're like, make it. We would watch it.
Yeah. And they would get a lot of money. And who else did he date? Chuck them in there.
Mimi Rogers. That's the one that ended with Days of Thunder.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was in Austin Powers, 6 Degrees. There you go.
She was.
She was Mrs. Kensington.
Ah, yeah. Also,
yes.
Apparently, Don't Worry, Darling broke up Harry Styles and Olivia Wilde.
Whatever. Nobody cares.
I'm not adding that, though. Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Can I add one more oldie?
Yes.
Cleopatra. Elizabeth Taylor was with Eddie Fisher, who I'm pretty sure Eddie Fisher was with Debbie Reynolds before Elizabeth Taylor stole him.
Okay.
Because when you were Elizabeth Taylor, that's what you did. You stole men.
And you also could, because you're Elizabeth Taylor.
Look at you.
She almost fucking stole Michael Jackson. That's how good at stealing men she was.
Yeah, so they weren't a thing. Apparently they hated each other. But then they started working together and they're like, this could work. Then they got married. Then they broke up again. And then they got married again. She got married like 8 times or whatever.
Yeah. So, yeah, Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton on Cleopatra.
Oh, yeah, I didn't say his name, did I?
You said Eddie Fisher.
I said Eddie Fisher, who everybody knows.
So Mr. and Mrs. Smith, obviously. And this one, Titanic. Apparently...
Sorry.
The
Tim Allen was in Titanic.
Stress and the bigness of Titanic, the press, the awards, the everything of it.
Yeah.
Put such a strain on James Cameron's marriage to
Catherine
Linda
Bigelow.
Hamilton, Sarah Connor, that she broke up with him. But also, James Cameron met the woman who played Rose's granddaughter on the film and fell in love. Because after Linda Hamilton broke off the marriage with James Cameron married her and is still married to her.
Oh, so she didn't get the Heart of the Ocean at the end, but she got the director.
Yeah.
Oh. So she's probably got more money, actually, than if she got the Heart of the Ocean.
That's true. And Linda Hamilton had to keep making Terminator movies because she's no longer married to James Cameron.
I saw a video that took me a while to realise was a fake alternate ending to Titanic because, you know, the whichever Bill it is,
Bill Paxton.
Is looking for the Heart of the Ocean, and then they work out she's had it the whole time.
Yeah.
And you know that fat, annoying guy that was with him?
He's like directory guy.
Yeah. And at one point they're talking, and then it's like, she was like, oh, I've had it the whole time. And the The fat guy was like, "Are you fucking serious, lady?"
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah.
Yep. Also on the list, but I haven't
you have
seen.
a lot more.
Billy Bob Thornton and Angelina Jolie starred in Pushing Tin together. Billy
Okay.
Bob Thornton was with Laura Dern at the time. Ooh. And the quote from Laura Dern was,
That's weird.
"My boyfriend went off to make the movie Pushing Tin, and then I never heard from him again."
Laura Dern. She's great.
And also Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Kenneth Branagh was married to Emma Thompson, but then had an affair with Helena Bonham Carter.
Ooh.
Also,
God.
Tim Burton made a movie with Helena Bonham Carter, had an affair with her, and that ended his marriage.
Yeah. Well.
But they're still married. So,
Hey.
but those I haven't seen. Mary
Yes.
Shelley's Frankenstein
Yeah.
and Pushing Tin. And
Pushing
Proof of
Tin
Life.
sounds like a terrible name.
I get it confused. It's very different to
Makes
Tin.
it sound like Pushing Rope.
Tin Cup is like a golf movie, I think. I don't know why I get them confused. They're very different.
Oh.
So we have...
Oh, God.
have you seen Proof of Life?
No.
All right, well, we crossed that off the list. Have you seen Wanderlust?
No.
All right, well, we crossed that off the list. I haven't seen Have or Have Not.
Are we going to have enough movies?
Haven't seen
So far, it's going to be
Cleopatra.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Daredevil.
So we have Daredevil, Days of Thunder, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Titanic. This page has a lot of other things. I was about to also say Frozen, but they're notes from previous episodes.
Right, okay. Look,
So, Titanic
Titanic.
is the best movie. We're not talking about the quality of the marriage here. The best movie.
Because if we haven't seen the other ones. Cleopatra's good.
I'm going to agree with you, even though I haven't seen it. It is an iconic movie. I'm going to put Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
If you're then doing quality of a movie by factor of relationship.
Can I put Wanderlust in?
Yep.
Because it's a better movie than Daredevil.
Okay, well, I haven't seen any of the others, but I think they probably are.
Catherine Hahn's in it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Titanic, Cleopatra, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Wanderlust, and that leaves us with Daredevil.
Done.
Because Daredevil is the most obvious one of the rest of those ones that we haven't really seen that ended a marriage.
Yep.
So Titanic, Cleopatra, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Wanderlust, Daredevil. I'm allowing Cleopatra because even though I've not seen it, I know it is absolutely iconic in terms of Elizabeth Taylor's career, already iconic career. Proof of Life is an iconic relationship ender, but we haven't seen it. Jump in the Facebook group if you want to tell us that we've missed something or put some movies in a different order. We've got to remember to put these things in the Facebook group as well. But we will do that. So the link to that is in the episode description, or you can find that on 2out3brothers.com.au. All right, that's if you want to get involved in the top 5, which this week was top 5 movies that caused a relationship to end.
Very random, but
Yeah,
hey,
it works.
that's why we're doing this movie.
Yep.
Speaking of movies we're doing.
Yeah, next week's is my turn, isn't it?
No, you did this one, I think. Did you?
No, you spun up Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Did I? No, I spun up Pitch Perfect and then said it's because Glee.
Okay.
I'll just spin. It doesn't
Yeah,
really
you
matter.
did actually.
Yeah. Spin.
Spin that wheel. It's a long spin.
It is a long spin.
How many more movies have you added?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Okay. Is it a part of a series?
No, it's just a movie
About a guy.
that people have always told me I should watch because it's funny, but I don't think I'm going to find it funny.
Is it Me with the Hangover?
Well, maybe,
But it's
but
not the Hangover.
it's a tad problematic, but it's not.
That does not help because anything pre-2000 is a tad problematic.
I think it has a Wayans brothers in it.
White chicks.
White chicks. Do you not want to do it?
Can I veto it?
Veto. Okay, veto.
If we both don't want to watch it.
I'm fine with that.
Sorry to all the White Chicks fans out there.
I'm fine with it.
That's in there just for iconicness, not because someone nominated it.
Yeah.
If you do want to nominate it, we won't veto it, I promise. Like we did Jumanji.
I am very glad we vetoed it.
Oh, good. Absolutely fabulous, the movie.
No. I don't know if this is still historical fact, but at the time, it was the movie that was nominated for the most Oscars without being nominated for Best Picture.
That's such a clue for you, not me.
And the person who won an acting Oscar for the movie, it was their first movie.
Oh.
And they won it because of a song.
Oh.
And the lead actor doesn't have any facial expressions in it.
Okay, Dreamgirls.
I was like, how many clues do I need to give you before I say Beyonce?
No, because I thought I went to A Star Is Born because I was thinking Gaga first movie and she was nominated and she did the song. But then when you said no facial expressions, I remembered, Effie, you were supposed to love me. The irony is he's got more facial expressions in Ray and he couldn't even see himself in the mirror. All right, Dreamgirls, starring Beyonce and Jennifer Hudson, who has gone on to the glories of middle daytime TV talk shows.
She's an Emmy winner.
She's an Oscar.
She's a daytime Emmy winner. She's an EGOT winner. She's got all four of them.
Yeah, but a daytime Emmy, does that count? A DGOT.
I reckon to some it's like, that doesn't count. But I reckon
like,
Barbara Streisand's like, bitch, that does not count.
But like an Emmy for like just sitting on a couch and talking shit. Like anybody can sit in front of a microphone and talk shit.
I mean, so many people do it.
To quote that guy on our TikTok, not everyone needs a podcast. But we have a podcast, so fuck you. And we're watching Dreamgirls for next week, and you should too. I'm glad. I was thinking of watching this the other day.
Oh,
this soundtrack's still on high rotation in my playlists.
Fucking yes.
Move right out of my life.
So good.
Watch Dreamgirls for next week. Like and subscribe to this video and the channel and the podcast app. Hit subscribe on that to make sure that you don't miss any of our future episodes. Check out 2 out of 3 Brothers on our other feed that is linked in the episode description as well, and join our Facebook group. If you want to make it so we can buy slightly better whiskey than Glenmorangie, then there's a link to sling us a couple of bucks in the episode description as well. Thanks, Brett.
Effie.
That's it?
That's it.
All right.
Cheers. Thanks for listening to 2 Drink Cinema. We would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this podcast was produced and pay our respects to elders past and present.
If you'd like to support the podcast, either leave the tip or become a member for early access to these episodes by using the link in the show notes.
Join the Facebook group for more chat about the movies we review, and make sure you follow us on the socials to keep up to date.
Hit the subscribe button and leave us a review on your podcast app.
Happy viewing and drink responsibly.